How many of you are of the opinion that a woman's obligation the night of the Seder is identical to a man's? Just want to take a poll. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Good. Okay.
Absolutely.
And how many of you think that there are differences in obligation? Okay. All right. So, yesh v'yesh.
Same would be with the drink, with everything, or just the
Everything.
process?
Everything.
Package deal.
Everything.
Can we say it's much
Well, how many mitzvahs are there the night of the Seder? Can you enumerate them?
There's,
Maror,
matzah maror,
Arba kosos,
matzah,
matzah, maror,
the
the mitzvah of magid, right? Right, exactly. What else? What else? What else?
Seba.
Matzah balls. Is that
Hallel.
the rice or the
Hallel. Hallel. There's 3 derabbanans and 2 deoraises the night of the Seder. There's magid and matzah, the 2 deoraises, and there's moror, arba kosos, and hallel,
Which are a lot more.
which are
There's
derabbanans.
Korban, Pesach,
There's no
Haggadah,
bracha.
I mean, there's stuff
Would
we
be
can't
No, I'm saying bisman hazeh.
Haggadah.
Okay, we're saying bisman hazeh.
What about Hasava?
There's no bracha. There's no bracha.
Haseba is a separate mitzvah. It's a condition of the mitzvah of matzah, the mitzvah of arba kosos. Okay, it's a way of fulfilling, right?
You have a bracha, a mitzvah without a bracha?
Which mitzvah?
Hallel.
Yeah, it's included in, well, we say at the end of Hallel we say a bracha. The question is, why don't we say at the beginning? Okay. Anyway, the Gemara in Psachim says, V'amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Nashim chayavos ba'arba'a kosos halalu sha'afin hayu ba'oso hanes. Women are obligated in the mitzvah of arba kosos. Now, we're just talking about, the Gemara is just talking about the 4 cups. Because why? Because they too were part of the miracle. Okay? Comes along Tosfos on that Gemara, on Daf Kuf Ches and Psachim, and says, V'irav haytaim lo hayu chayavos, mishum denashim peturos mimitzvah sasei she'azman grama, afal gav de'arba kosos de'rabbanan came de'oraisa tikun. He says, were it not for this reason that afhein hayu ba'oso hanes, they were part of the miracle, they would not be obligated to drink arba kosos because it is a mitzvah saseh shazman grama. And even though you'll argue that it's only a rabbinic law, so since when does rabbinic law have that limitation? Yes. When the rabbis fashioned their rabbinic requirements, they fashioned them in the same way that the Torah places its mitzvahs. And if the Torah limits mitzvah saseh shazman grama and says that it doesn't apply to women, we would expect the Chachamim's mitzvahs to be exactly the same. So that would be the norm. But since Afhein Hayu Ba'oso Hanes, they too were part of the miracle, they are therefore included in the obligation of Arba Kosos. Tosfos continues, Hayu Ba'oso Hanes, Pirish Rashbam, Sha'al Yadam Nig'alu. That what is Afhein Hayu Ba'oso Hanes? So the Rashbam says that they were primarily responsible for the miracle. Not that they were redeemed together with the men, but they were a key ingredient in the Geula. This is a famous machlokus in the Rishonim of what the words Afhein Hayu Ba'oso Hanes means. And Tosfos quotes the Rashbam, V'chein min Megillah al Yedei Esther, u'v'Chanukah al Yedei Yehudis. And that's the reason why women are obligated in Megillah, and women are obligated in Neiros Chanukah, because there were females who played an integral role in those holy days. Vikasha, the af mashma she'enan ikar. Problem is that they too were part of the miracle, does not imply that they were the key to the miracle, but they were also part of the miracle. Va'od b'Yushalmi gorish sha'afhen hayu ba'oso safek, mashma ba'oso sakana delashmi la'argula abe. And also the language in the Yerushalmi does not imply that they were the key heroines, but rather that they were just as much in danger as the men. V'had amrinan. Now, let's go on to the next point. So Tosfos seems to suggest that he disagrees with the Rashbam, and Afhein Hayu Ba'oso Hanes does not mean that they played an integral role, but rather it means that they were part of the redemption, just like men, so there's no reason to exclude them. Next, v'hader minun tepeturos misukah afagav de'afhein hayu ba'oso hanes ki basuko so shafti. Listen to this very important question. So now that I've established that whenever women are part of the geula, part of the miracle, they too should celebrate the commemoration of that miracle, then why are women exempt from sukkah? Why don't you say afhein hayu ba'oso hanes? If Hashem caused us to dwell in Sukkot as we were traveling in the desert, what, only the men had the anane hakavod and the women did not have the anane hakavod? So why don't we say that women have an obligation to sit in Sukkah? For Tosfos, hasam ba'aseh de'oraisa, avol bi'arba kosos derabanan tiknu gam lenashin kevin shahayu ba'oso hanes. So Tosfos answers that the only time we say afhein hayu ba'oso hanes to obligate them in a mitzvah is only in a mitzvah derabanan. This is a very important yesod. It's a very important principle that you'll never find the principle of afhein hayu ba'oso hanes associated with the mitzvah deoraisa. Now, this is important because that's also the reason why when the Gemara discusses whether women have an obligation to eat matzah, the Gemara does not say, yes, they have an obligation to eat matzah because afhein hayu ba'oso hanes, but rather the Gemara makes a hekesh between the prohibition to eat chametz and the obligation to eat matzah. And it says that the reason why women are obligated to eat matzah is because they are prohibited from eating chametz, not because of afhein hayu ba'oso hanes. So that's an important principle that Tosfos lays down. Now, it could very well be that if you learn like the Rashbam, then you wouldn't have this question. If you learn like the Rashbam that they were an integral part of the redemption, so maybe women weren't an integral part of the anane hakavod, and therefore it should be just like any other mitzvah saseh shazman grama, where women weren't integral. But now that we're learning like Tosfos, sha'afhein hayu ba'oso hanes means that they were the beneficiaries of the miracle just like men. So Tosfos has to explain according to this that we never see afhein hayu ba'oso hanes associated with a mitzvah deoraisa. Okay? So I just want to lay that down. Shulchan Aruch. Gam hanashim, so we know that women have an obligation from the Gemara to drink the arba'a kosas. But the Shulchan Aruch extends that. And the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Taf Ayin Beis says that not only does this extend to the arba kosos, but gam hanashim chayavos ba'arba kosos uvechol mitzvos hanohagos ba'oso laila. Not just in the 4 cups of wine, but every mitzvah that applies the night of the Seder, women have an obligation. The Mishnah Berurah says, Kagon matzah umoror va'amiras Haggadah. The mitzvah of Magid, Vigada to Levincha. The Magen Avram and the Ateres Tzivi, 2 of the Nosei Kalim, the margin commentaries to the Shulchan Aruch, they're early Achronim. So the Magen Avram says, why are women obligated as well? Mipnei shahanashim hayu ikar ba'oso hanes shebizchus nashim tzidkanios nigalu ma she'en kein b'sukkah. Magen Avram seems to be learning like the Rashbam. And he says that women were an integral part of the miracle of redemption. They were not an integral part of the miracle of Sukkah. And that's the difference between why women would be obligated in all the mitzvahs of the Seder, but they would not be obligated to sit in the Sukkah. But the Ateres Tzivi gives a different explanation, apparently siding with Tosfos over the Rashbam. And he says, Afal pisha petur mitzvahs aseh shazman grama, mikol makom kevin shagam heim hayu ba'oso neis, shahayu gam kein ba'oso sakana chayavos. Do you notice the very important difference between the Ateres Tzivi and the Magen Avram? The Magen Avram learns like the Rashbam that afhein hayu ba'oso hanes means they were an integral part of the miracle. The Ateres Tzivi learns like Tosfos, who says that Afin Hayu Ba'oso Hanes means that they were also the beneficiary of the miracle, and that's the reason why they have an obligation to fulfill any mitzvah that's associated with the Seder. The Afal Pi de Peturos Misukah, even though women are exempt from Sukkah, even though you could argue that Afin Hayu Ba'oso Hanes, Afal Gav Dehin Hayu Ba'oso Hanes Ki Besukah So Shafti, Hasam Ba'asei De Oraisa, Aval B'Dalikosos De Rabbonin Tiknu Gam L'Nashim Shahayu Ba'oso Hanes. Exactly like Tosfos says. The difference between Sukkah and Arbakosos is that Arbakosos is D'Rabbanan, and so we apply the principle of Afin Hayu Ba'oso Hanes, and Sukkah is a mitzvah D'Oraisa, and we don't use that svara of Afin Hayu Ba'oso Hanes. What it seems to be, according to Tosfos, is that a mitzvah's aseh D'Oraisa, the rabbis never sort of created that add-on of Afin Hayu Ba'oso Hanes. They created the add-on of Afin Hayu Ba'oso Hanes with mitzvahs aseh D'Rabbanan, perhaps because Asu Chizik L'Divreihem Yoster Mishel Torah. They sort of felt that they needed to reinforce rabbinic law to include women as well, right? But when it comes to biblical law, we always exempt women from biblical obligations that are Zman Grama.
Rabbi, what does the Torah provide as the reason we sit in the sukkah?
Ki vasukos o shafti es b'nei Yisrael b'hotzio samei eretz Mitzrayim.
Right. So it doesn't mention anything about it in this, does it?
Well, it depends how you understand sukkos.
It's not midrashic.
We paskin like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says they were sukkos mamish. Rabbi Eliezer, excuse me. I think Rabbi Eliezer says sukkos mamish. I always get mixed up. It's Machlokes Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Akiva.
Rabbi Akiva says was Anani HaKavod.
He says it was Anani HaKavod, and we go, and so if you learn like that they're Anani HaKavod, that's the miracle. It's a commemoration of the miracle of the Anani HaKavod.
But that's not mentioned in the Torah. That's the reason why.
The Torah says Sukkot.
The Zecher Messias Mitzrayim.
Kiva Sukkot, so Shafti es b'nei Yisrael v'hotzii osam eretz
That's
Mitzrayim.
right.
It's a machlok is how you define the word Sukkot in the Torah. Okay, now here is the most important ingredient of tonight's shiur, which is to look at the Sefer HaChinuch and the commentary from the Minchas Chinuch. The Sefer HaChinuch, in talking about the mitzvah of Sipur Yitzias Mitzrayim, the mitzvah of relating the Exodus, which is based on the pasuk of Haggadah to Levincha. So he says, we're not going to be able to go into the whole explanation. He says, but l'saper be'inyan Yitzias Mitzrayim belel chamishasar b'nisim kol echad k'fi tzachut l'shono. Every person has to relate the Exodus according to the abilities of his articulation, to give thanks to Hashem that He did these miracles to us, and it's based on the pasuk of Haggadah to Levincha. Then he says, "Ve'inyan hamitzvah sheyizkar hanisim v'ha'inyanim shiru lavosinu b'yitzias Mitzrayim." You have to relate what miracles Hashem did when He took us out of Egypt, and how He took vengeance upon our enemies, and and there's an obligation, and then the Chinuch writes how you have to relate the Exodus even if you're sitting by yourself at the Seder, and you have to use speech in order to arouse yourself to remember the Exodus. And then, the very last line of this mitzvah, mitzvah Chaf Aleph in the Sefer HaChinuch, he writes, "V'noheges b'zachar munekevos b'chol makom v'chol zman, v'over aleha bitel aseh." It applies both to males and females, in every time and every place, meaning that as long as it's the 15th of Nisan, you're obligated. And if you fail to perform this mitzvah, you've been mevatel a mitzvah's aseh de'oraisa. Okay, comes along the Minchas Chinuch as follows. V'noheges v'chulei, source number 8. Davar ze chidush gadol etzli. He says, this is amazing to me. Lama yihiyeh noheg mitzvah zu b'nashim. Why should this mitzvah apply to women? The mitzvah of Magid. Kivin dahavi mitzvah saseh shehazman grama v'noshim peturos. He says women are exempt from positive time-bound commandments. So why should it apply to women? V'Rambam perak vav gabi achilas matzah kasav mefurish v'nashim chayavas k'mavur b'shas. And furthermore, the Rambam in the Mishnah Torah writes that women are obligated in the mitzvah of eating matzah, aval kan lo kasav zeh. But when it comes to the mitzvah of magid, the Rambam doesn't say explicitly that women are obligated. V'lo matzasi zeh b'shum makom. And I therefore have yet to find a source for how we know that women are obligated in the mitzvah of magid. V'ayin Rambam perak yud beis mehilchas akum chashiv ha-mitzvah saseh she'azman grama shenashim chayavos. There's a whole section in Hilchos Avodah Zarah where the Rambam enumerates all of the biblical commandments that are time-bound that women are obligated to fulfill. And he lists over there, Kiddush Hayom, Achilas Matzah, Upesach, V'Simcha, V'Hakel, V'lo Chashiv Zeh. And the Rambam in that list does not enumerate Magid, Min HaTorah. So, or Mehecha Tesi, rather, Yischayevu Nashim b'mitzvah zu. So how do you know, how does the Sefer HaChinuch know that women should be obligated in this mitzvah? V'lomar hatam shenashim hayu gam kein ba'oso haneis kemo mitzvahs matzah v'dalit kosos. To suggest, perhaps, that because women were part of the miracle, and therefore they were, just as much beneficiaries of the miracle as men were, and therefore, just like they have an obligation to drink wine and to eat matzah, so too they have a mitzvah to relate the Exodus. Kvar hochichu hatosvus dedavar zeh eino ela derabanan b'chol makom. But Tosfos addressed that, and Tosfos says that the svara of afhein hayu ba'oso haneis only applies by rabbinic law, not by biblical law. Va'ayin shagas aryeh hilchas kriyash ma'bir barayos degam b'chol hashana nashim pituros mizechiras yitzias mitzrayim mipnei shehu man grama. So he says, and if you take a look at the shagas aryeh, he proves that women are exempt from the mitzvah of mentioning Yitzias Mitzrayim on a daily basis. And Makol Shekain mitzvah zushu pam echas b'shana vadai havizman grama. And if women are exempt from making mention of the Exodus on a daily basis because it's time-bound to when you say Kriya Shema, then surely this mitzvah must be time-bound if it's limited to one day out of the year. V'lo mashma b'shum panim tam lama yischayvu nashim. And therefore, I don't know where this reason, what the reason is that the Chinuch writes this. Ve'ef shalomer lefi ma shehevi harambam kan perek zayin dezachres yom tzescham eretz mitzrayim kemo shenemar zachor es yom hashabbos lekadesho im kein efsher dahavi gzeira shava mikiddush shel Shabbos. He says, perhaps you'd like to make a gzeira shava. That just like it says, Zachoris hayom hazeh asher yitzasem mitzrayim, and it says, Zachoris yom hashabbos lekadesho, just like women are obligated to fulfill the mitzvah of Shabbos, even the positive mitzvah of Shabbos, who hadin, that they're obligated to fulfill the positive mitzvah of Magid, all the mitzvahs of Pesach. Aval be'emes b'shas dilan eino muzkar. But that Gzeira Shava, you can't just pull that out of thin air. It's not mentioned anywhere in our Gemara. Maybe the Rambam can write it, but I don't know where the Rambam gets this from. V'ayin daf kuf tez zayin di alfinan kiddush hayom ilaman tizkor v'lo min zachor. And by the way, the obligation to make kiddush on Pesach is not because it's connected to Shabbos. V'ra'isi b'sefer hamitzvahs laharambam shekasav dezacher hu mitzvah kemo zacher es yom haShabbos. Ve'ein kavanaso l'gzeira shava, rak hevi detzarech lahazkir pepeh. And therefore, when the Rambam connects it, the mitzvah of Kiddush on Pesach to the mitzvah of Kiddush on Shabbos, he's not making a real Gezeira Shava. He's just saying that just like there's a mitzvah to sanctify Shabbos with your mouth, so too, when there's a mitzvah to sanctify Yom Tov on Pesach, it's with your mouth. Ve'ein ha'mechilta biyadi la'ayin bo, aval kevin de harambam lo hevi davar zeh, ve'ein ola al zichrani mishiyavi zeh, divrei harav ha'mechaber tzarech iyun gadol, minayin lo l'chayiv nashim b'pshitus b'mitzvah zu. He says, maybe the mechilta, that I remember vaguely creates that Gezerah Shavah, but none of the poskim make that Gezerah Shavah to Shabbos to indicate why women should be chayav. Ve'ein raya me'ishta sho'alto hainu de mitzvah lav sheyakain, aval ala isha vadei ein mitzvah klal. Maybe you'll argue it's based on the fact that the Mishnah says that if there are no children, then your wife should ask the manishtana. But that doesn't prove that she herself is obligated in Magid. All it is that she's enabling you to say Magid, the man. The gam hachumra shel harav hamachaber mevi lidei kula. Ki lidvarav motzia nashim yedei chovasem anasha besipur yitzias mitzrayim. Uve'emes kol she'enu mechuyev bedavar ein motzi. Ayin shas gabe Rabbi Yehuda Reb Shimon d'amru Haggadah v'chulei. And he says, and if you're going to take the Sefer HaChinuch at face value, to say that women have the same obligation as men in the mitzvah of Magid, that's a chumrah that brings to a kula. Because now, if we're going to take that to its nth degree, it turns out that, let's say a man doesn't, for whatever reason, has difficulty saying the whole Haggadah. And he says, only one Haggadah. He says, here, honey, you read the Haggadah and I'll listen and I'll be Yotzei. According to the Sefer HaChinuch, he could be Yotzei from his wife's Magid. But based on what I've just said, that there's no source that a woman should have a chiyuv deoraisa of Magid, it's going to turn out that the Sefer HaChinuch is leading people astray and is perverting the halacha. V'lomar kevin da haTorah amr b'dibur zeh b'shashi yesh matzah v'hem chayavin. What's the abbreviation? V'lomar kevin da haTorah amr b'dibur zeh b'shashi yesh matzah umar munachim lefanecha. That since the Torah says that you're only, you're supposed to have matzah and moror in front of you when you fulfill the mitzvah of Magid, right? V'hem chayavin, what is that abbreviation? B'achilas matzah, good. Gam ken chayavim bazeh, and since women are obligated in eating matzah, and matzah is connected to making mention of Yetzias Mitzrayim, so it follows that they're obligated to relate the Exodus. Ein zeh klum. The HaTorah kasva legabe anoshim, the azuzman chiyuv. All the Torah is saying is at the time when you're obligated to do Magid is when matzah is in front of you. But not to tell you that whoever is obligated in matzah is obligated in Magid. That's not what the Gemara means. And there's other types of mitzvahs that are like that, where the Torah said, where the Mishnah says, based on the psukim, you have a mitzvah to do it at a time when something else applies, even though that those mitzvahs don't apply to women. V'tzarach iyun gadol bazeh, and therefore the Sefer, the Minchas Chinuch, leaves off with v'tzarach iyun gadol. Where is it? What is the source for how the Chinuch knows that women are obligated in the mitzvah of Magid? That they're obligated in Arba Kosos, we've already established from the Gemara. That they're obligated in Achilas Matzah, we've also established from the Gemara. We've established that just like men only have a rabbinic obligation in Arba Kosos, so do women. We've established that just like men have a biblical obligation in Achilas Matzah, so do women. But what about Vigada to Levincha? Where do we see that women are obligated? Number one, there's no real source in the Rambam. And number two, it's a mitzvah saseh shahazman grama. Now, according to the Rashbam, if you learn like the Rashbam, he would say, Afein hayu ba'oso hanes means that they were an integral part of the miracle, and it applies to the Oraisas like it applies to the Rabbanans. According to the Magen Avram, there's no problem. But according to Tosfos and the Ateres Tzevi, this is a big problem. Where do we know that women are obligated in the mitzvah of Magid?
Is he saying that they are obligated in Rabbanan? He's just questioning the chinuch on the deraisa?
He's just saying what's the source. He's not saying that alternatively they only have a rabbinic obligation. As we'll see, there are those who hold that way. There are some who hold that the woman's obligation of Magid is only midrabbana. So let's see how we can understand this.
Why doesn't he question the Shulchan Aruch as well? Because that's the same thing as the.
What do you mean the Shulchan Aruch?
The Shulchan Aruch basically says that women are mechuyev in all of them.
It is a question on the Shulchan Aruch. He's asking on the Shulchan Aruch too. But, you know, the chinuch is a rishon, the Shulchan Aruch is an achra.
So if we understand that the Haggadah is actually not a standalone, but it's part of the mitzvah of matzah, then you have one way of explaining it. In other words, it's an extension of matzah, and whatever the Haggadah means.
Well, the Minchas Chinuch had suggested that. He had said, maybe based on that statement of the Gemara or the Mishnah, that you can only fulfill Magid when matzah and maror are munachim lefanecha. Therefore, he says maybe they're inexorably connected. So whoever has an obligation of matzah has an automatic obligation of Magid. But he said, but that's not what the Mishnah means. It just means, the Mishnah simply means, when are you obligated to fulfill the mitzvah of Magid? When matzah and maror are on the table. And when are matzah and maror on the table? The night of the Seder.
Isn't that what the Gemara actually says, that, as pointed out, that when you say matzah, you're basically saying things over the matzah. It's Haggadah.
Oh, lechem oni.
Yeah.
Lechem sha'onim alav dvarim harbe. Right, that's a good point. The Gemara does say that. The question is that a halachic principle? That the only time I can eat, I have a mitzvah of matzah is when I'm reciting the Haggadah? Or is it a medrash? Is it a drush? Is there any halachic application to that? It's a good point. You're all raising good points. Take a look at the Maram Shik, and he brings down the question of the Minchas Chinuch. Source number 9. This Maram Shik is not in the Chuvas Maram Shik. It's on Maram Shik wrote a separate sefer on the Taryag mitzvahs, and so, in his commentary to the 21st mitzvah, he quotes the Minchas Chinuch. He says, "V'hinei ha-Minchas Chinuch hiksha, ha-dekaimal on the mitzvahs Haggadah gam nashim chayavin." I don't like the dikduk here, but that's okay. We won't begrudge the Achronim their dikduk. He says, that which we establish, that the Haggadah is obligatory upon women as well, minole. V'i mishum da'afin hayu ba'oso hanei sakas v'toisus b'megillah dalid dehirak midarabanan. Tosfos in Psachim and Tosfos in Megillah say that the idea of afhin hayu ba'oso nes only applies to rabbinic law. Ulanias daiti lo kasha. But in my opinion, this is not a problem. The harei beperet parshas re'ei kisiv lo sochal alav chametz shiv'asim tochal alav matzos lechem oni. So, Alan, hold on to your hat, right? He says, what does it say in Parshas Re'eh? Do not eat chametz. For 7 days you shall only eat matzah, lechem oni, the bread of affliction. V'darshu chachamenu zal b'psachim lamed vav, l'Rebbi Akiva, hakra da'oni balolamed, kishmuel sha'onim alav dvarim harbei. That this is a bread that requires much response, much discussion. V'hainu shechayavin l'sapir alav ha'Haggadah. Umehekesha dekraze yalfina de nashim chayavin b'mitzvos afal gav de mitzvos aseh shehazman grama. And it is from this pasuk that we learn the nashim chayavin b'matzos, rather, that women are obligated in the mitzvah of eating matzah. In other words, Parshas Re'eh, which is in Sefer Devarim, connects the prohibition of eating chametz to the obligation to eat matzah. So this is the pasuk this is the source text that teaches me that because women are prohibited from eating chametz, they have an obligation to eat matzah. V'hahekesh hazen namiksiv eitzel lechem oni. But this pasuk calls matzah lechem oni, the bread of discussion. Muchach gam kein shetzrichim la'anos, and therefore, if women are obligated in the matzah of that pasuk, they're obligated in a matzah that precipitates discussion. Umuchach dechayavin gam b'mitzvahs Haggadah, uvazeh miyushav kushas hatzlach. And with this, now that I've explained to you how I know that women are obligated in Magid from that very pasuk, I can, in one fell swoop, answer the question of the tzlach, Rabbi Yecheskel Landa. What was his question? Shehik shasham dav chav ches umem gimel lama le'lemelaf mehai kra de parshas re'eh. Why does the Gemara have to wait until a pasuk in Sefer Devarim to connect the prohibition of chametz to the mitzvah of matzah. Tepukle mikra de parshas bo. Kol machmetzes lo sochelu shivas yamim tochel alav matzos ayin sham. There's a pasuk in Parshas Bo and Sefer Shemos that also connects the Isser of Chametz to the mitzvah of matzah. So why does the Gemara wait to get to a pasuk in Deuteronomy when there's a very expedient pasuk in Exodus? Ulahanal niralani yazdaiti b'davken akar haikra lelamdenu denoshim chayavim gam b'mitzvahs Haggadah. What an amazing idea! You hear what he's saying? He's saying the Gemara deliberately chose a pasuk in Devarim and deferred the pasuk in Shemos because the pasuk in Devarim tells me that not only are women obligated to eat matzah, but they're also obligated to eat the matzah, which is called lechem oni, which requires them to recite the Haggadah. And that's the source. V'lichora mutcha bazeh divrei hatzlach shekasav le'el davchav ches l'rid the yolef mei haikra lekavo choba v'hu yolef chiyuv v'dinashem mehekesha dechol machmetzes ulahanal ha'itzterich hekesha akati le'inyan lechem oni. So we're not going to go through this aspect of the tzlach now because it's a little bit outside of our discussion. But I just wanted you to have the rest of that paragraph. But the bottom line is, it's mamish kemin chomer now. Now we have a great appreciation of why sometimes, in this instance at least, why the Gemara quotes a pasuk from Devarim when it could have quoted a pasuk from Shemos. It was specifically for the women, to include women not only in the mitzvah of matzah, but also to include women in the mitzvah of magid. So we've seen one answer so far. Well, this is really our second answer. Answer number one, as to how I know that women are obligated in the mitzvah of magid, would be to say that if you learn like the Rashbam, af hein hayu ba'oso hanes, applies equally to the Rabbanans and the Oraisas as long as women were an integral part of the miracle, which is true for Yetzias Mitzrayim, and therefore they should naturally be obligated in the mitzvah of magid. But if you don't hold like the Rashbam and you hold like Tosfos, then you have a problem. So to answer Tosfos, we have the Maram Shik, who says that because the source text of how I know that a woman is obligated to eat matzah is from the words lechem oni in the pasuk, those very same words also teach me that matzah is inexorably connected to discussing the Exodus. So if they're obligated to eat matzah from that pasuk, they're also obligated to discuss the Exodus and to fulfill the mitzvah of magid. Now let's look at a second answer. The Klei Chemda, also one of the Achronim, says, "Ume'ata yesh lomar al pi ma shekosafti b'makom acher l'taretz da'as Rabbeinu Hara'ah zal b'sefer hachinuch." I don't know what he means by Rabbeinu Hara'ah.
Varan Halevi.
Is that the name of the author of the Chinuch? I thought the author of the Chinuch
Supposed to be Varan Halevi.
was Arav.
It's a proposed.
It's anonymous, but that's
It's
right.
I thought it was an anonymous author, right?
But they say it's Varan
Rabbi,
Halevi.
but a lot of people argue.
Yeah.
Okay. So is this the same? Is this the Ra'ah, the Baal Hamor? Is that
Yeah.
is that who?
No, Balamor is Mizrahi Halevi.
Okay, so this is a different. This is Rav Aaron Halevi.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I didn't know this. Okay. Shakasav b'pshitus denoshim chayovin l'saper b'yetzias Mitzrayim b'leilei Pesach. So the Chinuch writes as a given that women have an obligation in the mitzvah of magid. V'tamu alav hahavi mitzvah saseisha zman grama v'noshim peturas. And they all ask the question: how can the Chinuch write that if it's a mitzvah saseisha zman grama? The kasavnu l'taretz the yeshlomer the davka mitzvahs asesha mimatan Torah ve'elach niftaru nashim mikoach hekesha de tefillin hecha dahavi mitzvahs asesha hazman grama. So we have answered elsewhere. I don't know where this elsewhere is. That's why I only brought down this short paragraph. But the Kli Chemda writes a tremendous chiddush. He says the only time we say that women are exempt from mitzvah asesha hazman grama is when those positive commandments were given after Matan Torah. But if they were given before Matan Torah, women have an equal obligation to men. Now, how do we know that women are exempt from mitzvah sasei shazman grama? Because of the mitzvah of tefillin. And the Gemara says that the tefillin is the exemplar that just like only men are obligated in tefillin because it's a mitzvah saseh she'azman grama, men are also are the only ones obligated in all mitzvahs saseh she'azman grama to the exclusion of women and servants. Masha'in ke mitzvah saseh dekoda matan Torah nashim chayavos, afal gav davi mitzvah saseh she'azman grama verachnu b'zel letaretz mimatzah ve'in kan makom. And that would also help us understand why, I don't know what he means by this last part to explain matzah, because matzah is also before Matan Torah. Women are obligated, but not because it's a mitzvah saseh, shahazman grama, but rather because it's connected to the isser of achilas matzah. So I don't know what he means in the last part. But this yesod of the Kli Chemda would perhaps be answer number 2. Answer number 2 is, since this mitzvah was given, of the Haggadah to Levincha was given before the Torah was given, because it was given to the Jews while they were leaving Mitzrayim, right before they left Mitzrayim, so therefore it applied equally to women. And it's only once the Torah was given, and the whole kit and caboodle of mitzvahs were placed upon the Jewish people, and Hashem realized that if I make women do everything, they won't be able to function properly in families and so forth. Therefore, they were exempted. But the mitzvahs that were given before, since there was such a small amount of mitzvahs, women are equally obligated as men.
But those mitzvahs that were given before Matan Torah, I mean, it only became reinforced, or I don't know what the right expression is, but only with Matan Torah. I mean,
they're sort of like activated with Matan Torah.
Right.
That's true. And Chazal say that someplace, right?
Yeah,
Any mitzvah that was given before was nishnes at Sinai, and was binding as a mitzvah at Sinai, but there are plenty of mitzvahs that were given before Matan Torah. Shabbos, Parah Aduma, Pru'ervu, right? You can ask the question, right? So Pru'ervu is not because it's Zman Grama, but Pru'ervu is for another reason, right? But, so, this is his chiddush. I don't know, it has to be defended. I haven't had a chance to track it down and research it any further. But that's just answer number 2. Birkei Yosef. The Birkei Yosef is going on the halacha in Shulchan Aruch that requires us to say the Haggadah b'lashon shemevinim hanoshim, in a language that women understand, because they too have to participate in the mitzvah of Magid. Kosav harav beis David simin reish nun vav de'ein hatam mipnei shehanoshim chayavos b'kriyas ha'Haggadah shaharei mitzvah saseh she'azman gramahi. He says, why do women have to hear the Haggadah? Not because they're obligated, because it's a mitzvah saseh she'azman grama. The afal gav the amrinon perak arvei psachim dav kufches amri b'Yeshua ben Levi noshim chayavos b'dalat kosos shafin hayu ba'oso aneis hainu davka b'mitzvah derabanan kamo shekasvu ha'tosfos sham. So we're siding with Tosfos, right? He says women are only obligated in our bakosos because it's a rabbinic law. And that's where you apply sha'afein hayu ba'oso anes, but not over here. Avol b'mitzvah de'oraisa kivin shehi mitzvahs aseh shahazman grama ein l'chayiv hanoshim b'shvil shahayu ba'oso hanes. Shaharei mitzvah sukkah hayu ba'oso hanes kivasu koso shavti v'im kol zeh pituros. He's basically citing Tosfos. Why are women exempt from sukkah if they were also involved if they were part of the miracle? Because it's a mitzvah de'oraisa. V'hacha mitzvahs kriyas ha'Haggadah kivin shehu shel Torah kamo shekasav ha'Rambam ein l'chayva mitam dehayu ba'oso hanes, and therefore women are really exempt from the mitzvah of Magid because it's a mitzvah deoraisa. V'afal gav dechayavos ba'achilas matzah af shehi mitzvah saseh shehazman grama v'hi deoraisa. And what about the fact that they're obligated to eat matzah, even though it's a biblical law and it's a time-bound commandment? Hainu mishum hekesh d'chol sheyeshno b'valto chol chametz yeshno b'kumachol matzah. He says that's for a different reason, that anyone who's prohibited from eating chametz is obligated to eat matzah. It's got nothing to do with the fact that afein hayu ba'oso anes. Umikan kosher k'tzas ala Tosfos shehevia rai mitzvah sukkah she'enoshim chayavos b'mitzvah deoraisa she'azman grama. Tepachle miditzrich chra l'chayavam b'matzah. He says, and we can even use this as a question, a shtickle on Tosfos. Why did Tosfos have to go all the way to the mitzvah of sukkah to prove that we don't say afein hayu ba'oso hanes when it comes to biblical law? They should have used an example of matzah, which is germane to the mitzvahs of Pesach, to show, to demonstrate that we don't say Afin Hayu Ba'oso Hanes with biblical law. Because we don't use Afin Hayu Ba'oso Hanes as the rationale behind women eating matzah. So that in itself proves the point. Okay, it's a kasha ktsas. It's a little bit of a kasha on Tosfos. What about the mitzvah of moror? Why are women obligated to eat moror? He says, because nowadays moror is only a rabbinic law. Because why? Because moror is only obligatory midioraisa when it's eaten together with a korban pesach. Lekach nira dehatam shetzorach likros haggadah b'loshem sheyavinu hanashim uktanim eino mishum chiyuv shelahen ela mishum chiyuva didan sha'anu chayavim lahagid lanashim. He says, and therefore the reason it seems to me why women have to understand is not for their sake, because they're obligated in the mitzvah of Magid, but in order for me as the male to fulfill the mitzvah of Magid, I have to explain it to someone who understands what I'm saying. Let's say I decide I'm going to recite the Haggadah to my son in Chinese, and he doesn't understand Chinese. Did I fulfill the mitzvah of Magid? No. I mean, I may on one level have fulfilled the mitzvah of Magid because there's a mitzvah to articulate the word so that the speaker, will remember. But the proper way to fulfill the mitzvah is levincha. It has to be done to the family member so that they are capable of hearing. So basically the Birkei Yosef says that's the reason why I have to say it in a language they understand, so that I fulfill properly my mitzvah of Magid. Ad kan lashano bekitzer va'ayin sham ba'orech. That's the words of the Beis David, quoting the Beis David. What?
Sounds like a real doichek.
I don't know. Does it sound like a doichek to you?
Yeah, it sounds like that to me. What happens when the child can understand and there's no longer any requirement to tell your wife?
What do you mean? There's no
Mitzvahs we got it to levincha, not leishto.
Right.
So levincha is lav davka, the way the Gemara understands it. It's the ein lo banim mesaper leishto is what the Mishnah says.
And if he has sons,
so you
there's
say
no requirement to tell your wife.
I understand, but it's all b'nei beisa. That's what the way Chazal understand levincha. It doesn't just mean your sons; it means your daughters, it means your wife, it means all b'nei beisa, so that you have someone to say it to. And only b'di'evet, when you don't have anyone else at the Seder, you fulfill the mitzvah in a less than optimal way by saying it to yourself. But lechatchila, you have to have people who can understand what you're saying. That's the reason why the halacha requires them to understand. Not because they fulfill the mitzvah of Magid, by listening to you, by like Shomea Ka'ona, but rather that you, who are speaking, are fulfilling it lechatchila by having someone hear what you're saying.
What about if you're by yourself? You know, you still have a mitzvah to fulfill it.
What's that?
If you're by yourself,
Yes.
we know that you still have a mitzvah. You still
Correct.
have to recite and things like that.
Right.
Wouldn't that suggest that there's no need for a recipient?
No, lechatchila, there has to be someone that you're staying into, that they can hear what you're saying.
I'm not sure
But-
what that means. What do you mean lechatchila?
Lechatchila, when you can...
You don't have. So that means
If you
lechatchila
don't have-
you're not yotzei.
So, anas rachmana patre. Right, if a person doesn't
Right,
have
but
matzah, he's pater from eating matzah.
I understand.
If a person doesn't have people that he can say the Haggadah to, he can still fulfill the mitzvah of Magid on a less than optimal way.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's a big chiddush. That to say that you need a recipient,
Why is that? Why is it a chiddush? Why is it a chiddush? I mean, that's what the Mishnah says. You're supposed to inform the word Magid is to inform others. So it's not just a game that I'm saying it in front of them even though they're not listening. Can they put in earplugs? Is it the same thing? L'cha'ora, that's what the Mishnah means. That l'chatchila, that's the way the mitzvah has to be performed, so that people are listening while I'm speaking. Which is by, you're accentuating an important point. If we're all just, davening up the Haggadah, that's also not Magid, the way that the Birkei Yosef is explaining. There has to be a speaker and there has to be a listener.
But they don't necessarily get the mitzvah for listening, though.
That's right. That's right. They have their own mitzvah of Magid, and they're facilitating another person to fulfill his mitzvah of Magid. But according to the Birkei Yosef, women don't have their own mitzvah of Magid. He basically is paskening that there is no mitzvah of Magid for women, which is not the way seemingly the Shulchan Aruch paskins, unless you say the Shulchan Aruch was lav dafka, didn't mean all of the mitzvahs, but just arba kosos and matzah and moror and most of the mitzvahs. Now, we saw, according to the Maram Shik, that women are obligated midioraisa in the mitzvah of Magid. We saw from the Kli Chemda that women are obligated. But you see from the Birkei Yosef, Hitaka holds that they're not obligated at all in the mitzvah of Magid. I need to leave. I need to end early tonight, unfortunately, because of a conflict that I have. So Be'ezras Hashem will pick this up and continue with a couple of more contemporary tshuvas and poskim next time. Okay, because we're not done. We're in the middle. Okay?